I saw her through the glass, laughing. A champagne flute dangled from her perfectly manicured fingers. She leaned in toward him, whispering something into his ear. He smirked, then placed his hand over hers on the table like they'd done this 100 times. The candlelight flickered between them, like the damn scene was scripted. That wasn't the worst part. The worst part was that she was wearing the same red dress she had on the night I proposed. I stood outside that overpriced restaurant in downtown Chicago, hands in my coat pockets, watching the woman I had shared my bed with for 7 years cozy up to a man I'd never seen before. I wasn't angry, not at first. I was frozen, numb, like my body refused to catch up with my brain. I didn't kick the door open. I didn't cause a scene. No, I walked in calmly, sat at the bar just 5 tables behind them. She hadn't seen me. She was too busy flipping her hair and batting her lashes like some high school cheerleader desperate for the quarterback's attention. He looked like a walking cliché. Rolex, smug jawline, blazer with no tie. Probably some finance prick named Kyle or Trent. I ordered a whiskey. Neat. Then I asked the bartender for a pen and a napkin. The words came to me faster than I thought they would. No shaking. No hesitating. Just truth in black ink. Enjoy your dinner. The divorce papers will be on your desk Monday. Tell your friend. I hope he can afford your taste. I'm done funding it. I folded the note and flagged the waiter. Slipped it into his hand with a tip bigger than the steak she was cutting into. Told him which table to drop it at. I watched him walk across the floor like a soldier carrying a grenade. The moment he placed that note next to her wine glass, I saw her face change. Like she got hit in the chest. She didn't even read it all before she shot up from her chair. She scanned the room, eyes wide, mascara slightly smudged. Guilty. Panicked. Exactly how I wanted her to feel. I turned my back before she could spot me and walked out the door. Cold air hit my face like a slap, but it felt cleaner than the air in that place. More honest. Let me rewind a little. You need to understand the woman she pretended to be before I tell you who she really was. Her name's Ashley. Ashley Carter. Blonde. Big green eyes. The kind of woman that men stare at in grocery stores and assume she's out of their league. And for years, I thought she was out of mine. I met her at a conference in Vegas. She was supposed to be there supporting her friend. Ended up at the bar where I was celebrating a contract win. She laughed at my jokes, touched my arm when I spoke, leaned in when she talked. All the signs, all the tricks, and I fell for them like an idiot chasing fireworks. She moved in 6 months later. Our lives blurred into one account, one house, one bed. She was never the overly affectionate type, but I chalked it up to her being independent. She hated being called wifey. She said it made her feel like property. I respected that. I respected everything about her, even when it meant I had to dim my own light just to keep her comfortable. Turns out, she wasn't uncomfortable. She was just uninterested. Back to the restaurant. As I walked away from that place, I realized something sickly satisfying. She wasn't embarrassed about what she did. She was terrified someone else knew. That's the difference. Cheaters don't fear guilt. They fear exposure. That night, I didn't go home. I checked into the Marriott by the lake, ordered room service, and opened the bottle of whiskey I'd been saving for our anniversary. She never noticed it missing. Of course not. She was too busy trying to build her little fantasy life with someone who didn't even know he was walking into a house I still owned. But I wasn't going to act rash. No yelling. No begging. No second chances. I had evidence. I had peace. And I had time to plan every next move down to the last pin in the map. And trust me, Ashley wasn't ready for what I had planned. The next morning, I woke up to 12 missed calls from Ashley and 3 voicemails. I didn't listen to them. I stared at the screen, watching the notifications stack up like unpaid bills, and felt nothing. Not rage. Not sadness. Just nothing. She knew I saw her. That note shattered the little bubble she'd been floating in. And now? Now she was scrambling to do damage control. Typical. Instead of answering her, I took a long shower, ordered breakfast to the room, and sat by the window overlooking the lake. I started making a list, names of lawyers, accountants, security firms. I wasn't going to just walk away. If she wanted to play dirty, I was going to show her what ruthless looked like. By noon, she was parked outside the hotel. How she found me, I don't know. Probably tracked me or bribed someone. She called again, then texted, "We need to talk. Please, just come down." It's not what it looked like. That made me laugh out loud. Not what it looked like. She had her hand on his knee. Ashley. In the same dress I bought her for our engagement dinner. I waited another hour before I walked down. Not for her. I just wanted to see how long she'd wait. She jumped out of the car like she'd seen a ghost when I walked through the doors. Her makeup was different, softer, more innocent. She was trying to look broken, vulnerable. Maybe it worked on other men. Not anymore. Jason, she said, voice cracking like she practiced it in the mirror. I said nothing. Just stood there, letting her squirm in silence. She took a step forward. Can we go somewhere to talk? Just us. Please. No need. I replied flatly. I already heard everything I needed to hear last night. Your laugh said more than your lies ever could. She flinched, but forced a tear. It was dinner. Just dinner. He's a friend. From where? The dating app you forgot to delete. Her face dropped. Exposed. How long? I asked. Her eyes darted sideways. It wasn't serious. How long? I repeated. She hesitated. 5 months. 5 months. She looked surprised I didn't explode. Truth is, I'd already burned through the anger. That moment at the restaurant. That was the funeral. Everything else now was just burial. I stepped closer. You used my money to buy the wine. You wore the dress I gave you. And you looked at him like I was dead. Her lip trembled. I didn't mean to hurt you. No. I said, my voice turning cold. You just didn't think I'd catch you. She looked down, guilty. For show. Always for show. I was lonely, she muttered. Then you should have told me. Not replaced me. I walked away. She followed. Jason, please. I made a mistake. No. I said without turning. You made a choice. That night, I changed all the passwords. Canceled her access to every card. Froze the joint account. She still had the house key, but I was having the locks changed by morning. By midnight, she was sending long paragraphs. I still love you. Let's go to therapy. Don't give up on us. But I didn't reply. I forwarded the text to my lawyer. Screenshots. Dates. Her confession. Everything. She wasn't my wife anymore. She was an operation. And I was about to execute it with precision. 2 days later, she showed up at my office. My assistant, Melanie, buzzed me. Ashley Carter's here. She's refusing to leave. I didn't even sigh. I just stood, straightened my cuffs, and said, send her in. 2 minutes. Ashley walked in like she owned the place. Tight black skirt, crocodile tears already in place. She looked around the office like it still belonged to her. It didn't. I leaned on the edge of my desk, arms folded, watching her struggle to figure out what version of herself she needed to be to win. The sweet wife? The seductress? The victim? She tried all three in the first 30 seconds. I miss you, Jason, she said, walking toward me slowly. I've been losing my mind since that night. You've had 5 months to figure things out. I cut in. Now you've got 2 minutes. Talk. Her voice cracked. I made a stupid mistake. He didn't mean anything. I don't know, trying to feel something. You were always working, and I felt invisible. I nodded slowly. So, to feel visible again, you dressed up in the clothes I bought you, drank my wine, and let some stranger paw at you over a filet mignon? That flicker of rage in her eyes, there it was. The real her. The part she tried to hide behind sobs and mascara. I'm not some prostitute, Jason, she snapped. No, I said calmly. They're at least honest about what they're doing. She took a step back like I slapped her. You're cruel, she whispered. I shrugged. I'm precise. Her voice rose. So what now? You just cut me off? After everything we've built. Everything I built. I corrected her. You were a passenger. And now you've been dropped off. I gave you my best years. No, Ashley. You gave me your prettiest ones. You kept your best for someone else. Her mouth opened, but no words came out. The moment stretched. I watched her squirm. I wanted her to feel that. Every inch of the humiliation she thought she'd never experience. She started to speak again, but I held up a hand. I've already filed. The documents are on the way. You'll get served this week. I'm not negotiating anything. You signed a prenup. You walk out of this with what you brought in. She blinked. You can't do that. I've been your wife for 7 years. And I've been your sponsor, I interrupted. But I don't fund liars. She stormed out then, slamming the glass door so hard Melanie looked up from her computer. I sat back in my chair, calm. There were no cameras. No shouting. No revenge speech. Just clarity. That kind of betrayal doesn't deserve theatrics. It deserves silence and a swift exit. Later that night, I drove past the house. Her car was gone, but the lights were still on. I pulled up the security cam feed. She was in the bedroom, my bedroom, packing bags. talking on speakerphone. I boosted the audio. I think he's serious this time, she said. Yeah. The account's frozen. I'm gonna need a place to stay. No, I haven't told him about the condo. Yet. The condo. That was new. I smiled. She thought I didn't know. She always thought she was the smarter one. But I'd had a PI on her for a month. I knew about the downtown condo under a trust name. I knew about the gifts she gave him. I knew about the bracelet that her friend got her, that actually came from his Amex. I knew everything. And I hadn't said a word. Because real power doesn't scream. It waits. And then it takes everything back in silence. The next morning, I had the condo seized. Technically, she didn't own it, not directly. But the trust that paid for it? Yeah, that was funded through one of my holding companies. She didn't think I'd noticed the monthly withdrawals she tried to hide. She used a card I rarely monitored, one we kept for emergencies. Apparently, her definition of emergency included satin sheets and scented candles for another man. I froze the trust. Not a warning. Not a heads up. Just gone. By noon, she was calling again. This time, I answered. Jason, she said, breathless, like she'd just run a mile. Did you touch the trust? The condo access code isn't working. I had things there. You mean he had things there? I said. A pause. You had no right. I had every right. I said, cutting her off. You siphoned money from a business asset. That's fraud. She laughed, hollow and defensive. Oh, come on. Now you're pretending to be some victim? You've always been the one in control. I just wanted something that was mine. Then you should have earned it instead of faking it. She snapped. You know what your problem is? You think money equals loyalty. You bought me, Jason. You never actually saw me. No, I said evenly. I did see you. I just couldn't believe you were this cheap. She hung up. I didn't flinch. A week passed. The lawyer confirmed the divorce proceedings were in motion. No contest. Her name was off the accounts, off the titles, off the will. Clean. Surgical. I had lunch with my financial advisor the next day, and even he was surprised how little she actually had tied to her own name. She was paper-thin behind the glamour. But the real hit came later. I sent a single email to her parents. Not out of spite. Just facts. A copy of the restaurant bill. The photo from the security cam in the condo hallway. The bank statement from the trust. And finally, the prenup, signed, time-stamped, and attached to her wedding vows. Her mom replied the same night. We had no idea. We're ashamed. Please don't involve us in this. I didn't reply. I didn't need to. Ashley called 2 days later, crying. But it wasn't grief. It was panic. My parents cut me off, she whispered. They think I disgraced the family. I stayed quiet. I made a mistake, Jason, she said, voice shaking. I lost everything. I almost felt something. Almost. But I remembered the way she laughed that night. The way she smiled at another man with my ring on her finger. The way she looked surprised, not guilty, when she saw that note. You didn't lose everything, I said. You just lost what was never really yours to begin with. Silence. Then a click. She didn't call again. But the man? The lover? He did. 2 days later. Unknown number. Blocked ID. Hey, he said, awkward. I know this is weird, but can we talk? I paused. Who is this? He cleared his throat. It's Brian. I was with Ashley. I didn't know she was married, man. I almost laughed. What gave it away? The wedding ring or the shared bank account she used to book your little love nest? He stammered. Look, I'm sorry. She told me you were separated. Said you were just dragging it out. She lied to me, too. I stayed quiet. She's spiraling, he added. I just thought you should know. She's blaming you for everything. That made me smile. Good, I said and hung up. I didn't need closure. I had truth. And the truth didn't set her free. It buried her. A month passed. By then, Ashley had moved into some shared apartment uptown. A friend of a friend. Word got back to me through someone at my gym. Apparently, she was telling people I kicked her out for no reason, that I was emotionally abusive, that I'd been controlling for years. I expected that. When people like her lose control of the narrative, they try to rewrite it with whatever scraps are left. But no matter how she twisted it, the facts didn't change. She cheated. She lied. And now she was living with plastic hangers and roommates. While I woke up in clean silence with no screaming matches, no suspicious texts at midnight, no perfume-scented guilt clinging to the sheets. But something still lingered in me. Not regret. Not doubt. It was the kind of ache you get when you pull a knife out of your own back and realize how long it was there. You wonder how you didn't notice sooner. That ache started to fade the day I walked into my closet and saw it. Her red dress. The one from the restaurant. The one I bought her. Still hanging there like a souvenir of betrayal. I stared at it for a long minute, then pulled it down, shoved it into a trash bag, and dropped it down the chute. I deleted our wedding photos off my phone the same night. Then came the email from our old mutual friend, Claire. She never took sides until now. Subject line, "You deserved better." It was short. I didn't say anything before because I didn't know what was true. But now I do. She lied to all of us. She told me you had anger issues. That you were distant. She said she fell in love with Brian because he listened to her. I saw her at a bar last night. Alone. Drunk. She asked if I thought you missed her. I told her no. And I meant it. Just wanted you to know. Your silence was louder than anything you could have screamed. I stared at that message for 10 minutes. Then I smiled. It wasn't revenge. It wasn't justice. It was vindication. Ashley thought she could control every angle, every detail. She always needed to be the hero of the story. But she underestimated one thing. People notice patterns. People talk. And no one buys a sob story forever, especially when the tears are crocodile and the wounds are self-inflicted. A week later, I walked into a coffee shop and saw her. She was by the window, hair tied up in a lazy bun. No makeup, cheap coat. She didn't see me. I stood in line, watched her stare at her phone, scrolling through something, biting her lip. She looked like someone trying to remember who she used to be. I didn't approach. I didn't say a word. I just took my coffee, turned, and walked out. Because there's a power in letting them see you free. There's a silence that screams louder than revenge ever could. And in that moment, I realized I was finally, fully, truly done. 2 weeks later, the final documents arrived. Divorce finalized. I didn't feel like celebrating. There was no champagne, no victory lap, just a quiet moment at my kitchen table, staring at the embossed stamp on the bottom of the page, thinking about how something that once started with trembling hands and whispered vows had ended with a signature and a silence. But closure doesn't come from ink and paper. It comes from decisions. And I had made mine. That night, I boxed the last of her things. The forgotten heels under the guest bed. The stupid mug that said, "Wifey," in gold script she never even liked but insisted on displaying for show. The photo album her mom had made us, still wrapped in the same paper she'd put it in years ago, never opened. I dropped it all at her sister's place with no note. No warning. Just left it on the porch and walked away. The next morning, I had a message on my voicemail. "Ashley again. I got the box," she said, voice low flat. "You didn't have to do it like this. You didn't have to be so cold." I deleted the message. Because I wasn't being cold. I was being clean. I wasn't angry anymore. I was past that. Now, I was just free. The real twist? Brian left her. I heard about it through Claire again. Said he couldn't handle the emotional roller coaster. She apparently spiraled after realizing he wasn't the safety net she thought he'd be. He didn't have my patience. Or my wallet. Or my tolerance for manipulation dressed as affection. One night, I walked past that same restaurant where it all started. The one with the candlelit tables and the wine list thick enough to be a novel. I didn't go in. Just stood outside in the exact spot where I first saw them together. And I remembered. Not her. Not the betrayal. I remembered the power of staying silent, slipping the waiter that note, and watching her whole world shift without me having to raise my voice. That was the real turning point. I didn't need to catch her in bed. I didn't need a private investigator's camera shot. All it took was watching her be herself when she thought I wasn't watching. That's the thing most men don't understand. You don't lose when she cheats. You win when you walk away with your dignity, your name, and your soul still yours. She wanted to break me, but she only broke the illusion. Now I sleep deeper, smile easier, and every time I see a red dress walk by, I don't feel pain. I feel grateful, because sometimes the best thing someone can do is show you exactly who they are. 3 months later, I bumped into her sister at a charity event. We weren't close, never had been, but she approached me cautiously, wine glass in hand, with that look people wear when they've heard too much and waited too long to say anything. "Jason," she said, offering a tight smile. "Didn't expect to see you here." "Same," I replied, nodding politely. There was a pause. Then she looked down and sighed. "Ashley's not doing well." I didn't say anything. Didn't need to. "She told Mom you cut her off emotionally years ago. That you stopped trying." I let out a quiet laugh. "Of course she did. But, she continued, she also admitted something after too many drinks. She said she thought you'd forgive her, that you'd come crawling back because you were too proud to be alone. Her words, not mine. I raised a brow. And what do you think? She looked me in the eye. I think she's realizing you were the only thing holding her life together. I nodded once. That's the thing about parasites. They only realize they need the host when the feeding stops. She didn't respond to that, just sipped her wine and quietly walked away. It wasn't bitterness that drove that answer out of me. It was clarity. I was no longer emotionally entangled, no longer questioning myself in the mirror every morning, wondering if I wasn't enough. I was enough. I was just standing in the wrong story. A few days later, I got a letter in the mail. Handwritten. No return address. I recognized the handwriting immediately. Ashley. The note was short. Barely a paragraph. Jason, I don't expect you to read this, but if you are, I want to say I'm sorry. Not because I got caught, but because I destroyed something real for something that never was. You didn't deserve the lies. You didn't deserve the gaslighting. You were good to me, and I was cruel. I don't know who I am anymore. But I hope you're okay. I hope you're happy. I hope you're free. Ashley. I didn't feel triumphant reading it. I didn't feel validated. I just felt done. I folded the letter in half and slid it into the back of a drawer I rarely opened. Not to revisit. Not to hold on to. Just to mark the final page in a story I never wanted to write in the first place. Weeks passed. I started seeing someone new. Someone who didn't flinch when I spoke with conviction. Who didn't treat emotional honesty like a weakness. Who didn't play games with affection or ration her attention like it was currency. It felt different, because I wasn't chasing approval anymore. I was moving with intention. You learn something when a person you trusted sets fire to everything you built together. You learn what you're made of when all that's left is ash. And me? I wasn't made to burn. I was made to rebuild. 6 months from that night at the restaurant, I stood in front of the mirror, buttoning my shirt, calm. Not the fake calm I used to wear like armor. The real kind. The kind that comes after a war, when the smoke clears, and you realize you're still standing. That every scar is stitched, every ghost silenced, every memory drained of its poison. I grabbed my keys and headed out. No plans. Just fresh air. The sun was setting behind the skyline, casting that golden blur across the city that always made things feel possible again. I wasn't haunted anymore. I wasn't waiting for her to apologize again. I wasn't replaying what I could have done differently. Because sometimes, the best revenge is nothing. Not cold stares. Not dramatic speeches. Just walking away, letting her scream into silence, while you rebuild quietly. She wanted me crawling. Instead, I stood taller. She wanted me shattered. Instead, I sharpened every piece she broke and built something unshakable. Now, I live. I breathe. I laugh at things again. Real laughs. The kind that don't feel like a performance. And if I could say one thing to every man sitting in that numb silence right now, wondering how she could look you in the eyes while kissing someone else behind your back, it's this. You didn't lose her. She lost you. And no matter how loud her lies echo, the truth always outlasts them. So don't chase. Don't beg. Don't try to fix what was meant to fall apart. Let her go. Then rise. Not for revenge. Not for applause. But because you were never meant to live in the shadow of someone who only loved themselves. You were meant to rise. Clean, unshaken, and untouchable. And trust me, she'll remember that silence for the rest of her life.